Fall greetings from Canadian Mennonite University. So today we're going to offer a few glimpses into two significant features of CMU. One, a really fine practicum program, and second, a really cherished event, Christmas at CMU. So we'll start with the program, and I'm sitting here with Isaac Kuhl-Schlegel, who is Practicum Coordinator in our Center for Career and Vocation. Now, I often say about our Practicum program that CMU was so old-fashioned that we're ahead of the curve. And what I mean by that is that when CMU started as a university in 2000, we put a practicum in place for every single student, regardless of what their major would be. That means every student would get out there in some sector and get experiential learning, work integrated learning, and all these kinds of things. Well, over these 25 years, that kind of work integrated learning has become more and more important to universities, and everyone's trying to catch up with CMU in something we've been doing for so long. Now, why were we ahead of the curve? Well, it's being so old-fashioned. We held on to, like back in that old century, 20th century, in our colleges, we had service learning, and we held on to that service learning, turned it into a practicum, and then we're at the right place, ahead of things for students to get that. So that's what we've been doing. And what's happened with this is that every student has had some sort of supervised experience across sectors, maybe in business, maybe in government, in church, in education, healthcare, and it just goes wide-ranging from there. But that's the overview. It's most interesting when we get into the details. So I'm going to talk with Isaac a little bit about that. So Isaac, tell us a little bit about what some of the students are doing this year with their practicum and what they're learning about themselves through it.
Thanks so much, Cheryl. So as you were alluding to, we have a huge range of placements that students are completing right now because everyone across their different programs has to complete a practicum. And so that includes students who are researching what sustainable transportation might look like for the future. It includes students who are at the zoo, working alongside veterinarians to provide care. It includes people working in film production. And so it's just a wild range of skills. And one of the best aspects of our practicum courses is students get to offer workshops where they talk to other people about what they're learning and try to share a little bit of that. So it's a wide range of skills and it's a wide range of knowledge. But there is still, we're convinced, a common thread of content that students are taking away from this and certain things that they're learning, regardless of the placement specifically that they're in. And a lot of that is a sort of informed confidence that the skills they're developing in their studies here are actually connected to everything else that they might want to do afterwards. And of course, on some level, students believe this, right? They wouldn't go to university if they didn't think that it was going to connect in and support them once they went out from there again. But you do find students saying things like, oh, once I go into the real world, right. Once I get out of whatever fake place this right. is. And in their placements, we often have students saying, I finally understand why I was learning this in my class. It hits home in a different way. And they realize that this was a real place where they were learning real things all along. And that comes with a greater sense of self-worth and a greater sense of what they might be able to do in the future. We like to say that in practicum, we hope that students leave with more good ideas than they had when they came in, rather than just being firmly set on one path or having a lot of different ideas that aren't necessarily well thought through.
Right, so they've got focus in some range of ideas. Yeah. And I like this idea that you're talking about, that they kind of learn to reflect on things and learn from, doing things all along so that they can keep making those connections about yes. things they're thinking about and learning and where they're working and so on. That's great. So tell us just a little bit about what the Center for Career and Vocation, so the CCV, what kind of things you're doing to support students this year in particular? Absolutely.
So obviously, practicum is something that comes along for students a little later in their degree, but the CCV is providing services for them all throughout it. And one of the pieces of that is resume and cover letter review, the things that people need for job applications. That can sound kind of boring to students, but it's really difficult emotionally sometimes work to figure out how you're going to present yourself to employers and how you're going to tell the story of who you are and what you're interested in. And so we really do talk a lot about it as a form of storytelling, right? How are you going to narrate the work you do, the skills you have, in a way where the thing that you're thinking about doing next feels like a logical next step, a logical next scene in the story. And that's a lot of work to work over those documents, but it's that kind of creative retelling of a life and figuring out how to do it in this really condensed, interesting genre that has been really invigorating, honestly, to do with students.
I love that, the notion of storytelling through a resume. Oh, I'm going to think about that more. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So I know that you teach a course called Vocation, Meaning, and Work. Tell us a little bit about what happens in that course.
Absolutely. So this is a course I've taught once before, and it's been offered a couple times before then. We like to say, half-jokingly, that it's a course about learning what you're going to do with the rest of your life. Because, it's half-jokingly because, of course, you don't actually make that decision just once.
Right.
That's good news and bad news, right? Good news because you don't have the pressure of you need to decide here and now what's going to happen. Bad news in that, you're not let off the hook. Right. Once you decide once. There's ongoing discernment that you need to do. And so we talk with students about, what does it mean to have a calling? How can we wrestle with different ideas people have had about that over time, theological perspectives, philosophical perspectives, across a whole wide range. And then also having students complete assignments where they're doing some of that discernment work themselves and actually critically reflecting on their skills and mapping out what are futures I could imagine. I had a student in that course last year actually say, this is the most I've ever had to think about myself, which is an intimidating thing to do. And, that's valuable work. It's really rich work. And part of the work of the course is providing a supportive space for students to do that, where they can work with each other and do that vulnerable thinking through of, what are the dreams I've been carrying? What are the expectations I've been carrying? And what are the things I really care about? What are the things I'm good at? And how can I try to forge a path through all these things in support of the other people who are around me who can serve as a bit of a community of decision making with me too.
Well, this sounds like such an important thing to do, especially in an era where the nature of work is changing, or the sense of how often you might end up changing your jobs throughout your lifetime and so on, to give people that kind of experience and just skill sets to handle that and to bring down the anxiety of what those things are, right? And give them real opportunities. Thanks for doing that work. Thanks for what you're doing, walk alongside students in the practicum and as they think about what vocation is for their lives. So thanks so much, Isaac.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And now just a little bit about Christmas at CMU. The magical day is going to be on November 30th, Saturday, November 30th, and we're back in full form this year. That means a concert that you move around this lovely North Campus building and choose the part you want and enjoy lots of good music, meeting people, some cookies, and so on. So that happens on November 30th at both 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. So you can choose which one you want to come to. If you have really young kids, you'll probably want to come to the 2 p.m. Concert because we have more features for young kids in that session. Now, if you're not so much into moving around that much, but you want to come in person, we're doing a shorter version on Friday, November 29th at 3 p.m. That will only be in the Lowen Athletic Center. And so it's just less than an hour, but a shorter version of a concert and carol sing to come to. And there's lots of room if you're coming with walker or canes and so on and want to enjoy that afternoon. You can also watch online. We'll be live streaming the evening performance on November 30th, or that'll be available as a recording anytime after. So Christmas at CMU is such an important event to usher in the time of Advent, the time when God's Word made flesh comes and with love and grace breaks through the earth's hard crust. And so we look forward to sharing that time of music together with so many of you. God's peace and joy be with you.